Do you ever feel like manifestation is just another thing on your to-do list that you don't have time for? Like your spiritual practice is something that you have to do? Honestly, you're not alone because I felt that way too. Something that's really changed my relationship with manifestation is blending it into my lifestyle so that no matter what I'm doing, I'm also manifesting. I call this manifestation as a lifestyle, and it's single handedly made the entire manifestation journey more enjoyable for me. And I've seen my desires show up with a lot more ease. Manifesting as a lifestyle has made manifestation go from feeling like a task to something I just naturally do because it's who I am. If you'd like to learn more about this, I've created a step-by-step guide for you. I'll link it in my show notes so you can check it out.
And welcome back to the Affirmation Addict podcast. This is your host, Payal Agarwal, and today I'm going to be talking about why it's okay to take breaks and how to reconnect with yourself. Because as you guys know, I haven't actually published a podcast in about 2 months, and there's a really big reason for that. So I'm excited to dive into this topic because it's been a lot of self-reflection going on. So I'm so excited to share. And I think this is a perfect time to introduce this concept to you guys. So enjoy. You're listening to the Affirmation Addict podcast with Payal Agarwal. This podcast will teach you about the power of affirmations while making manifestation easy and accessible for you in order to enhance your spiritual consciousness. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm so excited to dive into today's episode. Actually, wait, before we get started, I wanted to check with you. Have you heard about my new app? It's called Affirm It, and it's your one-stop shop for all things affirmations, manifestation, and self-healing. I really have been wanting to create something for you that truly empowers you to realize that you genuinely have everything you need within you. You don't need me. You don't need any other coaches. This app genuinely has everything you need to get that life that you've been trying to manifest. And it has gentle daily reminders, guided audio affirmations, sleep affirmations, affirmation reminders, and so much more good information, good energy, and so many things that I know will help you manifest your dreams. Because I'm so grateful for you, I'm actually offering you a free 7-day trial. And this is a genuine 7-day trial. That means you don't have to type in your credit card. You won't be automatically charged. There's no ads, and you get complete access to the app as if you've already subscribed to it. So if you do want to learn more about the app, head over to affirmation-addict.com/app, or if you're ready to dive in, head over to the iTunes App Store and search for Affirm It. The Android version will be coming soon, and as soon as it's ready, I'll be sure to let you know. Now we can officially dive into today's episode. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be back here and recording a new podcast. I know it has been almost 2 months, which is so insane. And the first thing I am not going to do, which is a really bad habit of mine, is apologize for taking that break. And this episode, I'm really going to be diving into a lot of the reasons and ways to reconnect with yourself and take breaks and learn how to say no and when to say no. And so first things first, I want to not apologize for taking that 1.5 month, almost 2 month break from podcasting, because I realized that I burnt myself out while building this app, and it was the most rewarding experience, and the app has been such a beautiful success, and I'm going to be talking about that in another episode, some of the things I've manifested already, and different ways that I think you guys can manifest something similar. But really, I needed this month and a half off to just reconnect with myself and just figure out, like, what in the world am I even doing? Like, why am I doing this? Who am I? Was it even worth spending this entire year on this? It was such a moment of just release. And that release really took me a month to recover from, because I believe that it was like have you ever heard of a vulnerability hangover? That's actually what I realized this whole thing was, because to me, this app was an entire creation of who I am and what I really believe can change the world, honestly. And I released it and published it to the world. And I realized that this whole month of me just closing in and being kind of MIA a little bit was me recovering from this vulnerability hangover. And so I think it's super interesting to self-reflect and understand that, yes, it's a vulnerability hangover, but also that's okay. Like, I accept that I needed this break. And something that I actually during this time realized was I was always really good at taking breaks growing up. And for some people, that might seem like I'm not as motivated, or I'm not a hustler, or I don't like that go, go, go life. But to me, that's actually has been so helpful for me, is taking those breaks and stepping back when something is too overwhelming for me, because I just can't fake it, and I can't just push something to push it. I can't force a friendship. I can't create half-assed content. I can't just do something for the sake of it. I have to do it wholeheartedly. And for some people, that's like, oh, she's just being lazy. And for me, that's me listening to my true self. And I know a lot of you guys are like me. And so that's why I really wanted to share on this episode why I really think it's good to take breaks, why I want you to take those breaks so you can reconnect with yourself, because we oftentimes forget what really matters to us and why we're doing the things we're doing. It's so easy to get stuck on autopilot. And I realized I was stuck on autopilot. I would wake up, I would talk to my developer in the morning, I would check the app, I would do app testing, I would post on social media, and then repeat the next day. And that was my autopilot. And I just got so tired of it. And it was so worth it. But I just really lost, like, what is the whole point? What's my vision? Who am I? Like, where are my affirmations for myself, you know? And so that's really why I took this 1.5 month break. And it's been so healing and so refreshing for me, because I finally feel like I'm back to my normal self and I'm inspired again, and so many different things. And so this episode is really for you if you have been feeling not like yourself, if you've been feeling a little disconnected, if you've been feeling just kind of off the beaten path and you don't really know where you're going. You know you're moving forward, but you're not 100% sure if you're moving in the right direction. And the first thing I want to say to you, I'm going to give you a couple of things that I did that helped me. But the first thing I want to say to you is you're doing the right things, and it's so okay for you to feel this way. You are allowed to feel burnt out. You're allowed to feel overwhelmed, and that's totally fine. But when you do feel those things, what really matters is how you react. Are you going to keep burning yourself out? Are you going to keep feeling overwhelmed? Or are you going to do something to change it? So what I really invite you to do right now, if you are in that stage where you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling burnt out, think of a way that you can take a break. Whether that is adding in 5 minutes during your workday to just sit and have time for you, whether it's taking some PTO, some paid time off, whether it's going away on the weekend, even if it's just an hour or even 30 minutes away, just changing your environment up, all of those count as breaks. And those are all things that I did that helped me get back to my normal self. And I really recommend all of the above, honestly, if you can. And for me, scheduling those 5 minutes in my day just for me to do whatever I want to do is so nice, because we oftentimes are so busy doing everything to check off everybody else's to-do list besides ours, and that's not fair to us. And that's really, really diminishing your own self-worth, and it's really, really pushing your higher self away from you. And that's why it starts to feel like overwhelm and disconnect, and you feel lost. And so what you really need to do is just stop and take a step back and do what you need to do for you. And that's what I did this past month. I went to India. I did my wedding planning stuff. That was great. And I have a whole nother episode planned about conscious wedding planning and manifesting and not being stressed out during wedding planning. And then a whole nother thing was going home and house hunting in Arizona and moving out of our house in Washington. And then it was the next thing was me and Tom just had a solo trip, just us two going to Canada. And we even worked on that trip. The goal isn't to stop working. It's actually just to find the environment that makes you feel good while you work. Because to me, my work actually fuels me. Like this podcasting, affirmations, the app, all of that truly fuels me and inspires me. So it's not draining to me. What's draining and what did drain me was the way I approached it and the fear-based actions I was taking. I was constantly talking to my developer, hoping that there was not another bug that needed to be fixed. That's the kind of actions that really burn you out. Taking actions for something that inspires you with that positive mindset will not burn you out. So that's what I learned and I'm going to start to implement is in what ways can I act from love versus in order to gain that security. So acting from that space of unconditional love rather than trying so hard to just take this action to prove myself right or to validate myself, whatever I was doing. And I feel like that's something that I've done over the years for a long time because I remember anytime I would take on a project, I would find myself burnt out. But I finally figured out kind of like the recipe to success in my eyes. And that is taking those breaks because the more breaks you take, the more time you get with yourself, the more time you're able to reevaluate, hey, am I going in the right direction that I initially wanted to? Is this going how I wanted? Am I on the right track? Am I doing the things that I really want to do? Or am I just acting on autopilot? Or am I acting out of fear? Or am I just doing this because other people have told me I had to? We oftentimes forget to stop and think about why we're actually doing the things we're doing. A lot of the reason is, oh, we have to. I have to do this. But why? Why do you have to do this? What is so important about it? And then when you start to get thinking and you're like, man, I actually don't have to do this. And that is actually what happened to me. I was like, man, I don't have to do this. And it allowed me to take that break because that break allowed me to just reconnect, fill my own cup up and bring it back to you. And so some of the ways I really like reconnecting when you're on that break. So first step is finding that time, finding that space for you, finding that way to be on a break. And the next step is what do you actually do while you're on that break? What do you do when you are finally intentional and ready to reconnect? So I'm going to give you 3 or 4 of my favorite things to do. And the first thing is just to sit in quiet. And this is not my favorite thing because it's the most uncomfortable thing, but I do think it's the most powerful thing. Sitting in complete silence, basically just being aware. Some people call this a meditation. Some people just call this noticing your thoughts. But to me, just sitting in complete silence every day during my break for a minute. It is so helpful because no phones, no nothing, no to-do list, and just sitting and just noticing what types of thoughts are coming in your mind. Those thoughts are what are really occupying and continuously manifesting in your future. So once you start to notice those thoughts, you can ask yourself, hey, are these thoughts that I really want? Or should I start shifting those thoughts? So that's the really, really helpful way to start monitoring your thoughts is just for 1 minute a day, during your entire break or during your 5-minute breaks that you take at work, just sit with yourself with no goal, no plans. We often overplan. So this is that time to just sit there. If you just stare at a wall and can't think of anything, that is totally fine too. The second thing I really like doing is actually journaling and asking myself, what are my intentions? What are my goals? Why am I feeling lost? Sometimes we search for answers and we want to ask other people or we want to find a post that just answers our question, but we forget to just ask ourselves. And that's why that 1 minute of silence is really, really powerful because you'll start to hear your own inner voice even more. So when you do this, you can literally just ask yourself, what is causing me this discomfort? And you can write it down on a piece of paper. You can write it down on a notepad, whatever you want to do, or you can just ask yourself out loud or even mentally, what is causing my discomfort and what can I do to fix this? And the answer might not come to you. It might not be crystal clear. You might not hear that voice or anything, but eventually you will start to know and you'll automatically start writing something down. You'll be able to reflect and think through situations that you liked or you didn't like. And that is a really, really beautiful way to start understanding what changes you need to make. The only way I was able to identify that I burnt myself out and I was experiencing the vulnerability hangover was because I gave myself time to just sit there and think without any goals or plans or any to-do lists like hovering over my head. The third thing I really like doing is just cleansing my space, because I noticed that I had felt so much heaviness that I just needed to energetically cleanse. So I went kind of all out, and I've talked about this before, but I finally cleaned my closet. I went through and cleaned about half of my closet out, and I'm going to either donate or sell some of those clothes. And then I also just cleaned out the entire home and space I'm living in, getting rid of that clutter, getting rid of the old stuff that we like to hang on to. And even going through your phone, even going through your email list, even going through your followers, anything that you're kind of holding on to that just takes up space or is noise in your life, start to declutter. And you can even cleanse like your home just with sage or little sound healing playlists, anything that you want that will help you really feel like this place is at peace and you're ready to just kind of realign yourself with the energy that you want to be on. And the last thing that I did was I actually just communicated my thoughts and my feelings to people that I'm really close to. And this doesn't mean go rant to your mom and your best friend and their sister and their brother. It just means people whose advice that you actually value. So for me, that's most likely Tom and my mom. Those are the two people I really vent everything to. And I talked to them about it, and I got to hear their feedback. I got to hear where they think I can improve. And I was open to taking that feedback. Or I just vented, and I would just say, I'm feeling a little lost. I don't know why. I don't even want to talk to you, but just letting someone know is a really comforting feeling. And so don't feel like you have to talk it out and explain and just vent and complain. You can just say, hey, I'm not feeling my best right now, but I just need some time to just think and process and digest and heal. So whatever it takes for you to get to where you need to be is what I recommend doing during that time of reconnection. And actually, the last thing I want to mention is asking yourself the right questions. And so I actually created a post on Instagram today, and I posted some of the reflection questions that came to me this morning that I encourage you to do whenever you want to reconnect with yourself. So I'll recite those one by one. And my action item for you at the end of this episode is to take 5 to 10 minutes to yourself and do this. You don't have to go through the whole reconnection process, but just start by asking yourself and checking in with yourself, because if you're not going to check in with yourself, who is going to? And that's something that I always need to remind myself. And so the first question is, how am I feeling? Ask yourself, how am I actually feeling? Literally, you can talk to yourself. And I know it feels a little strange at first, but the more you do it, the more you're actually going to be able to listen and be more in tune with your highest self. The second question is, what is my intention for the day? The third question, what do I need to give myself permission to do today? And on this one, I want to highlight, because a lot of the times we are blocking ourselves from doing something just because we haven't really given ourselves the permission to do this. And it can be something as silly as, I haven't given myself permission to post a picture of me in a swimsuit because I'm scared people are going to judge me. It can be something as surface level as that, or it can be something super emotional, like I haven't given myself the permission to forgive my ex-boyfriend who cheated on me because I have to hold that space of self-protection. But sometimes we can let go of that protection and still forgive the other person. So there's a lot of levels of permission you're able to grant yourself. The next question is, what action can I take that allows me to lean into my fear? This one is a really good one, because a lot of the times we take actions to save ourselves from our fears and protect ourselves from our fears. But this one, I encourage you to lean into your fears. The more you avoid your fears, the more they're going to come up. So do something that allows you to just conquer those fears up front, because that's really going to open you up, and that discomfort will begin to feel comfortable. The next one is, what hasn't been working well for me? How can I let go of this? So begin to think, and this is really the main question when reconnecting, when trying to get unstuck, is what isn't working for me? What am I doing that's not really serving me well? And how can I start to let go of this? How can I shift this? And the last one is, what is one thing I can do to embody my highest self today? So what is one action I can take that'll really resonate with me and my highest self, that will get me one step closer to my highest self, that my highest self would be taking if she wasn't as stuck, if she wasn't as disconnected with herself? And so go through those questions if you can today, even if it's just mentally, even if you just replay it and listen to my voice and answer in your head, that's more than enough. Just take that little piece of action to give yourself the time of day and reconnect with yourself, because the more you disconnect from yourself, the harder it is to reconnect. So I invite you to give yourself that break that you need. Take that vacation, whether it's for an hour, whether it's for 2 weeks, whether if it's for 2 months like I just did. It is totally okay to take those breaks, because those breaks are actually where the most inspiration comes in, where you're able to fill your cup up. And so do not apologize for needing that space. Don't apologize for taking those breaks. You're not superhuman and a machine. That's not necessarily the way we're wired. I really believe that we're wired and we are meant to just take action when we feel light and inspired, not every day from 8 to 5. So see if you can try implementing some of these things. And I would love to hear your feedback and love to hear if this episode resonated with you. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for spending some time with me and sharing your energy with me. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, and have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. Talk to you soon. Bye. So, how did you like today's episode? I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed recording it. And before you leave, I wanted to just say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for spending some time with me. If this episode or any of my content has ever inspired you, it would mean the absolute world to me if you could leave a review in the iTunes podcast app and just share this with someone you care about. The more you guys leave reviews and share this with people, the more I am able to create more content for you, and that's what fuels me and keeps me going. I am so genuinely grateful for the time we shared today, and until next time, I'm sending you lots of love and lots of healing energy. Bye!